So I think it's very difficult for people to actually take on board these conversations that we need to have in terms of experience. I think people don't really want to listen to it. I mean, it's part of, I think, what we'll probably cover this afternoon, but everybody seems to be doing a journey that is new. And my view is that none of this stuff is new. It's all been going for a long, long time, same sort of set of human behaviours. And there is nothing in this change sort of agenda that's new. They're just different configurations of the same thing. You know, the same, 5 things that you need to make basic change work. They're not always there. If one of them is missing, you don't get the change. One of the things I think you need, the first thing I think you need for managing change is, where are you going? In other words, what's the vision? Where are we trying to get to? Is the first primary thing that you need to be able to do that. And that is always, for me, been the strategy. That's where we're trying to get to. And these other things then are, enablers to these other 4 things I talk about are sort of enablers to get that thing delivered. What it does help with a lot of the time is, I think, if you get a common vocabulary. So if you can understand some of these things. So a lot of what I've seen helps with a common vocabulary, which is important. So a lot of, leadership books that I've read and been part of trying to implement have all had that element of assisting with a set of words and a structure of which you can have a sort of debate. And I think that's the power of all of these things. So I don't think I've picked up, I do have my favorites in these things, but but I would argue that these things are pretty much saying the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Find out where you're going to get to. Make sure you've got the skills to do it. Make sure you're incentivized to do it. Make sure you've got sufficient skill resources to do it, and then a plan. So I think your vision's got to be simple. Okay, everybody's got to understand it. I think if you look at those people I talked about, and lots of other people that I can talk about, I think that's been their main message. It's simple, and everybody's got to be able to understand it. If you've got a vision that, only the top people understand, then it's not going to go very far. So it's got to be something that everybody understands. Everybody's got to feel related to what is actually going on. Because I think if you have a vision that you're not talking to the whole group of people, top to bottom, then I think you've got a real problem. And if you do create something like that and you don't test it with people and you're not sure it's striking home, then I think you have, so I think the first thing is the message, and then there's the delivery. Skills for me, really important, right? You've got to have been trained for what your job is, okay? And there is a tendency in all of these change projects that people have the necessary skills, okay, and are practiced in those skills. And I don't think there's many walks of life that you would attempt to do something unless you were practicing those skills or knew somebody or was with somebody who'd done that. You need to have some incentives for people to do these sorts of things. What's the incentive for you as an individual to be involved in this? Yeah. And you need to be really clear with people that they've got one of those, incentives, whether that's an incentive to change or an incentive to be part of the program. I think you need to get out that with people, and too often that's confused with ambition, and too often that's confused with, negative things instead of what are you here to do, so I can make sure that we continue to give you that incentive to be here. The fourth one is resources. So I've seen so much frustration on programs. So you've got a vision, the people have got the skills, you've got the incentives, but there's not enough resources. Yeah. Or sometimes there can be too many, the right number of resources, and you just get massive frustration. The last one I've got is, can we have a reasonable plan? Because this appears to be one of the biggest problems, right? I've never run 100 meters before in under 10 seconds. Okay. But I'm going to have a plan that's going to show me I can do that. And not only that, I'm going to train on a diet of beer and woodbines, cigarettes. Okay. And the plan is going to tell me I'm going to do this in under 10 seconds. Wow. You did hear a cry from the heart there, because that is the biggest problem I've had with these things, is that plan is not realistic. And I think with all of those things together, you've got a chance of delivering complex change.